Left side, a dream. The hallway goes somewhere different every time you look. Right side, a physics experiment. The particle goes through both slits at once, until you watch it. Both just changed, because something observed them. Now, normally, this is where science says coincidence and moves on, but I looked into it, and it gets weird. Every night, your brain does something extraordinary. It shuts off reality and turns on a movie. Eugene Aserinsky and Nathaniel Kleitman at the University of Chicago discover REM sleep, rapid eye movements beneath closed lids, muscle paralysis, and brain activity that looks almost like you're awake. Wake someone during REM, and 80% of the time they report a vivid dream. You dream roughly 2 hours every night, mostly visual, emotionally intense, and almost entirely forgotten by morning. But here's the part that matters. Look at what's on and what's off. Your dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for executive control, reality monitoring, and critical thinking, goes dark. Your brain fires up the imagination engine, turns off the fact checker, and runs a 2-hour movie you'll mostly forget. Every single night. And that dream system? It runs on the same brain network you use for daydreaming, creative thinking, and mind-wandering, the default mode network. Same system, different modes. 1975. A researcher named Keith Hearne at the University of Hull tries something nobody thinks will work. He trains a subject to make a specific sequence of eye movements, left, right, if they become aware they're dreaming. And it works. The subject signals from inside the dream. In 1981, LaBerge at Stanford independently replicates it. Lucid dreaming, being aware you're dreaming while still dreaming, is real, measurable, and repeatable. And when they scanned lucid dreamers, the prefrontal cortex came back online. The fact checker turned on. Gamma oscillations, associated with focused awareness, increased. Someone inside the dream opened their eyes, without waking up. They proved that consciousness can observe the dream state while still being in it. Remember that. It matters later. Okay, now let's talk about the strangest experiment in physics. The double slit experiment. You fire particles, electrons, photons, even molecules, one at a time at a barrier with 2 narrow slits. And what builds up on the screen behind the barrier isn't 2 lines. It's an interference pattern. The pattern you'd get from waves passing through both slits and interfering with each other. But you're firing individual particles, one at a time. Each particle somehow interferes with itself, like it went through both slits simultaneously. Now add a detector. Just watch which slit the particle goes through. The interference pattern vanishes. The particle behaves like a particle. It goes through one slit or the other. The act of observation changes the result. Why? Nobody agrees. Copenhagen says measurement by a classical device causes collapse. Many Worlds says there is no collapse. Every possible outcome actually happens in a separate branching universe. Von Neumann-Wigner says consciousness itself causes the collapse. Decoherence says the environment destroys quantum behavior. Cubism says it's about the observer's state of knowledge updating. 5 interpretations, all consistent with the data. No experiment has ever distinguished between them. And decoherence, the current frontrunner, explains how quantum superpositions turn into classical outcomes. But it does not explain why one specific outcome gets selected. That question is still wide open. Okay, so now let me show you something. In quantum physics, a particle exists in multiple states simultaneously until measured. In dreams, an unrecalled dream, one you never wake up and try to remember, is a cloud of possible narratives, fragments that could be assembled multiple ways. Measurement selects one quantum outcome. Dream recall selects and reconstructs one story. In both cases, the act of observing changes what you get. And when you wake up, the dream state collapses. The same way environment interaction destroys quantum coherence. The dream doesn't gradually fade. It shatters the moment waking consciousness kicks in. Now, I need to be honest with you. These are structural parallels, not proven causal connections. The human brain is very good at finding patterns, sometimes where none exist. But there's one more piece. Aboriginal Australian cosmology, the oldest continuous culture on Earth, describes the dream time not as mythology, but as ontology. Reality is a dream being dreamed. The physical world is one manifestation of an underlying dreaming state that is always present. Which sounds like poetry, until you realize it maps directly onto quantum indeterminacy. The observed world as one collapsed manifestation of an underlying probability field. An indigenous cosmology arrived at the same structural framework as modern quantum physics, more than 50,000 years earlier. So here's the hidden link. In quantum physics, nothing is fixed until something observes it. In your dreams, nothing is remembered until something recalls it. Both systems change when they're watched. Both systems need a watcher. The question nobody has answered in either field is, who is the watcher? And that question gets really uncomfortable when you ask it in one specific context. What happens to the observer when the brain shuts down? Not in a dream, not temporarily. What happens when someone flatlines and the observation should stop, but something keeps watching?